Attackers are moving from human speed intrusion to machine speed exploitation. AI-accelerated reconnaissance and exploit development mean that by the time an analyst sees an alert, the compromise has already scaled beyond human intervention. This creates a dangerous window for defenders. Attackers weaponize unknown vulnerabilities as a primary strategy, operating in the gap between the initial breach and the eventual release of a patch or a CVE. Google tracked 90 exploited zero-days last year, alongside an 89% growth in AI adversaries. Verizon DBIR data confirms a shift in how breaches begin. Software vulnerabilities are now the dominant entry vector at 31%, overtaking stolen credentials. Traditional defense is built on a sequence of historical matching. The tools wait for a known bad indicator, analyze it, and then deploy a blocklist or signature to stop future occurrences. This dependency on history ensures that the defender is always one step behind. You cannot match a signature for an exploit that has never been seen before. When compromise via unknown exploit becomes a persistent operating condition, defenders must move past historical intelligence. The focus must shift to a ground truth that the adversary cannot hide. This frames the enterprise as an interconnected geometry. Every glowing node forms a structural web, a view hidden in a traditional list of devices. To move laterally, stage exfiltration, or explore a new environment, an attacker must interact with the underlying shape of this system. These interactions cause topology deformation. An intruder's presence warps normal communication paths, shifts trust gradients, and alters the established route preferences of the entire network. An isolated traffic spike might be a false positive, but a structural shift in how an entire subnetwork trusts its peers is a measurable physical fingerprint of an attack. The PTCP Zero-Day framework is designed to monitor this geometry. It compresses high-dimensional telemetry into a model capable of spotting these structural shifts as they happen. The central thesis is that a mathematical model of this normal shape reveals the structural pressure of an exploit. It moves the focus from the malware signature to the network's geometry. The primary engineering obstacle is the sheer volume of data. Tracking bandwidth, identity posture, and energy cost across cloud and OT environments creates a flood of high-dimensional noise. PTCP addresses this through telemetry normalization. Disparate inputs, log files, identity tags, and numerical queue data are mapped into a uniform set of variables. These variables populate the pattern-of-life tensor-trained density model. The model compresses that high-dimensional data into a stable, three-dimensional representation of normal behavior. The mathematical advantage is in the efficiency of the storage. By operating at the order of dnr squared, the system achieves high-dimensional detection while remaining within bounded processing limits. This resulting geometry serves as a baseline. It is a pure representation of how a specific customer's network operates under normal conditions. By compressing the noise of an enterprise into a bounded geometric baseline, PTCP creates the foundation required to spot the microfractures of a stealthy intrusion. When a zero-day payload detonates and the attacker begins mapping the environment, the network's behavior is forced away from that baseline. PTCP uses negative log probability to score new telemetry against the model. If an abnormal data vector appears, it triggers an anomaly likelihood score, known as S-anom. An anomaly score is only a localized warning. The true zero-day signal is found in topology diagnostics, which tracks how that anomaly physically warps the surrounding structural grid. This is the D-topo metric. It combines the anomaly score with graph curvature gradients and shifts in cut capacity to visualize the mathematical stress along a lateral movement path. D-topo is specifically tuned to detect the behaviors attackers cannot hide: lateral movement, route leaks, and the staging of exfiltrated data. Compromise is no longer just a log entry in a database. It becomes a mathematically measurable geometry problem. For organizations with mature security stacks, the question is why existing deployments of XDR and NDR aren't catching these signals already. This split screen shows the limitation of endpoint detection and response. EDR is critical for monitoring processes on a specific host, but it is blind to the structural dependency paths and trust gradients connecting those hosts. Similarly, network detection and response monitors traffic baselines, but it cannot calculate graph geometry. It misses the moments when low-level traffic changes collectively warp a critical cut capacity across the infrastructure. Vulnerability management faces a time gap. CVE discovery only works after a flaw is identified and a patch is released, leaving a vacuum during the active exploitation of an unknown vulnerability. Even log aggregation in a CM can be counterproductive. Feeding it more noisy, uncorrelated telemetry without structural context only serves to overwhelm the analysts tasked with triaging it. PTCP is designed as a higher-order control plane. It integrates with these tools to provide the topology risk evidence needed to prioritize the most dangerous threats. While legacy tools monitor what is happening on a machine, PTCP identifies how the structural foundations of the enterprise are being manipulated. Finding a zero-day exploit is an intelligence victory, but the operational difficulty lies in the response. A defense that stops the attacker by taking the network offline is often just as damaging as the breach itself. This manufacturing line illustrates the danger of blunt network quarantine. If a tool autonomously cuts off a critical subnetwork, the operational failure can be catastrophic. In public infrastructure, defense networks, and OT environments, an autonomous block action can take critical services offline. You cannot risk pulling the plug on a power grid or an emergency dispatch system based on a false positive. Strict binary policies force security teams into an impossible choice: either do nothing and risk a breach, or quarantine the system and guarantee a service outage. For topology intelligence to be deployable, the remediation engine must be able to stop an attack without compromising the underlying mission. This requirement is addressed by the final layer of the PTCP framework, safe envelope containment. Safe envelope projects containment into bounded constraints. The system forms a semi-permeable shield that executes a controlled traffic drain while maintaining the baseline connection. Nuanced responses like route depreference are governed by rate limits to ensure availability remains within policy. The process generates an audit narrative, a board-ready report explaining what changed geometrically, why the risk was significant, and how the specific safe envelope action protected the mission. The commercial value of PTCP Zero-Day is in this transition. It moves infrastructure defense from a reactive scramble for signatures into a proactive, mathematically governed operation. By combining tensor train geometry with bounded containment, it provides the only architecture capable of outmaneuvering AI-driven exploitation in real time.